So what's going on, guys? The truck guy here. Today I wanted to get back to you with another unboxing and review. And today we're doing the Milwaukee Fastback 5-in-1 folding knife. This is model number 48-22-1540. I just picked this up from Home Depot and it is going to set you back a little bit. It's $24.97, so I think that might be the most expensive Milwaukee Fastback utility knife, or in this case a folding knife, that we've ever reviewed. But this is a cool one. It's crazy. You guys know the 6-in-1. You know I use that all the time for Milwaukee. That's their Fastback utility knife that's similar to the 5-in-1. So they dropped a tool, guys. You know, it was 6-in-1, now it's 5-in-1 if we go to the knife. So let's take a look at the differences there. But I've checked this out a little bit and it is pretty awesome. So let's go ahead and jump into the video and let's do it. Alright guys, so we've got the Fastback 5-in-1 folding knife from Milwaukee, and as you know, Milwaukee is really the leader in utility knives, in construction knives in general. So I couldn't wait to get my hands on this, and I had avoided it for a little bit because it does set you back. It's $24.97 as I mentioned. I had not seen it in stores, so I picked it up online from Home Depot. But without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and get it out of the packaging and see what we think. So just taking a quick look at what we've got in terms of tools. With the 5-in-1, we've got the stainless steel serrated blade, which you can see up top. Kind of almost a modified Tonto blade, but more or less a Tonto blade up top with the serrated blade towards the bottom. So that's good for cutting rope, things of that nature. We've got the bottle opener. It looks a little bit different than the 6-in-1, so we'll check out the differences. And then we've got the Phillips, the flathead, and then the nut driver. So let's, guys, no more talking. Let's go ahead and get this thing out of the packaging. So we'll get it out of the packaging and set that aside. We'll tuck in our screwdriver and nut holder to start. But right out of the gates, this feels really good in the hand, and it's a lot larger than the 6-in-1 utility knife, and I'm just feeling that right out of the gates, guys. It feels much bigger in the hand, which is great. The blade feels good. You know, to be honest, this blade could be even bigger looking at this knife. And how big the body is. I could definitely almost see a bigger knife, but I think you've got some good length to that knife. You probably aren't going to need more for, you know, jobs around the house and yard. So I like the serration there. That's going to help with, you know, pulling back on rope or kind of slicing into something where you need a little bit more oomph. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of Tonto blades. I kind of prefer, you know, a little bit more of that traditional blade, but you know, it's not going to be something that's make or break when you're needing to slice through something. You're just going to want a blade on you that you can take care of business with. So I'm liking what I'm seeing on the blade, and that's a really strong liner lock from Milwaukee that they've got on this knife. You know, you're not going to get any wiggle, any wobble whatsoever. Nice connection there and easy to slide over. For the one hand open, obviously you've got your button lock, your press and flip. It is a little bit tight, but you can definitely whip that out. No issues there. So I'm really liking the press and flip. So nice job by Milwaukee. And that is nice when you've got a knife like this. If you can, you know, whip your knife open and utilize it one hand, that's just going to make everything easier. So I'm really liking the press and flip from Milwaukee. And I will say it takes a little bit of getting used to. If you're new to knives, you're not going to be used to throwing a knife open with as much force as you need on some of these press and flips. Some are easier than others. The utility knives, a lot of them, very easy. On the traditional knives, the press and flip is very sticky. So, you know, or I should say, you're going to get much more resistance on the traditional knife. So just know that going in, that it's not a defect, but just something that is part of the way Milwaukee does it. But the nice thing about the button locks is it's also going to lock down. So if you've got, you know, kids, you know, people you don't want accessing these knives, you know, that's always a nice feature because it's not going to fly open unless you press that button to get your knife open there. So a little added safety feature from Milwaukee. And then they've actually got the bottle opener up top here. So you're going to just go in, crack open a bottle. I don't need to demonstrate that. You guys know how to do it. So I would always make fun of this right away when it was on painter's tools, when it was on knives. But with a knife like this, you're always going to have it on you. That's the point of a knife like this from Milwaukee. So having a bottle opener, it gets you out of a lot of jams at the end of the day. Let's just say that. You've got your lanyard loop on back. A little bit of an odd lanyard loop to be that embedded there in the frame. You know, usually it's a little bit higher up so you can kind of loop in, but I wouldn't want a lanyard, you know, right in the middle of my knife like that. That would just bug the heck out of me. So not a huge fan of the lanyard loop position, but hey, I don't use lanyards very often, so I'm not going to rag on that too much. So the coolest thing about this knife, and it's where you get the last three tools, because first tool, knife, second tool, bottle opener, is on this extension arm that comes out. You've got your nut driver, and then you've got the reversible bit here up top for Phillips. You can reverse it and go with the flathead. So super cool aspect to this knife here, which I love using this for electrical, little jobs around the house. You know, if you've got to take off an electrical plate, something like that. If you've got, you know, kids and you've got toys, little things you need to access, you know, any job that comes up, it seems like you need a screwdriver or, you know, a pry bar or a knife. So really this gets you out of a lot of jobs around the house and yard. So that's why I like having it on me, is because a knife is only so good. You need that screwdriver as well. So this, you know, gets you both aspects. And the cool thing about this nut driver and extension arm is it's got a little liner lock in there too. So it's going to lock out. So you're not going to get this sliding back on you, which is really cool. So it's a little stiff there, but mainly one hand open on the screwdriver too. So overall, guys, this is a little bit on the bigger side, but I love what Milwaukee's done here with the 5-in-1. This is just an awesome tool, and it's something I'm probably going to be using a lot. So big fan of the 50-40 here. I think Milwaukee did an excellent job. You can also reverse the belt clip on back here, depending on how you like to carry it. So super, super cool here from Milwaukee on the 5-in-1. But as you guys know, I'm also a big fan of the 6-in-1 because, you know, really this is going to depend on your style. Are you a traditional knife guy or are you a utility knife guy? Because utility knives, as you guys know, you can swap them out. You're always going to have a sharp blade. But at the end of the day, sometimes it's nice to have a big blade like this that is a little bit more versatile than just the short utility knife blade. So kind of an interesting dynamic between the 5-in-1, 6-in-1. To be honest, guys, I need to have both of them because they're both useful. They're both cool in their own ways. But a few differences if you're kind of trying to decide between the two. $25 on the 5-in-1 and $20 on the 6-in-1. So the utility knife is actually a little bit cheaper, which is interesting, and you get one extra tool. And, you know, big letdown here, guys, it's just the wire stripper. So, you know, I don't use that on my utility knives. I'm going to use a traditional wire stripper if I'm doing electrical. So not the greatest tool there from Milwaukee to say that that's an extra tool, but it's a tool, guys. We can't argue with them. But other than that, it's going to be the same, with the difference being the blade. But there are some differences, so let's talk about those quick. We'll fold down our blades here, and if you like that snap and that quickness, the 6-in-1, come on guys, there's nothing quicker than the 6-in-1. But when we break out our nut drivers and our bits here, you can see the extension arm on the 5-in-1 is much longer, and that may be a difference maker for you, because if you're reaching into tight areas or you have big hands, you know, you might like this 5-in-1 because you can really get down there and do a lot more damage. I have been a little disappointed sometimes with the 6-in-1 because it's just a shorter, stubbier tool. So, you know, even though that's nice, sometimes after picking up the 5-in-1, I really like that extension. It just seems to flow a little bit easier in the hand from the screwdriver perspective, because this is wider. It's just a little bit more bulky, shorter. So definitely a huge difference there. And one of the other interesting things is with the 6-in-1, they've given the nut driver arm a stop at 90 degrees, which I thought was kind of interesting. It doesn't lock there, but they have a stop built in. And on the 5-in-1, see if we can get it here, there's no stop at 90. So I'm not really sure about the reasoning behind why Milwaukee did that on the 6-in-1 and not the 5-in-1, but something to note. If that's an important feature for you, that's going to be a little bit of a differentiator. So outside of that, guys, you've got two incredible knives here from Milwaukee. You've got the 5-in-1, you've got the 6-in-1. I'm really starting to take a shine to the 5-in-1. It's a little bit larger, but I'm liking what I'm seeing. To me, it's just almost a little bit cooler than the 6-in-1. Comment down below as to what you think is the cooler knife. But at the end of the day, you may need to pick up both of these because they're pretty awesome. So that's it. Please hit me up with a like or subscribe. And as always, we'll talk to you on the next video.